Convo. Welcome back to Candid Conversations with Carmen. I'm your host, Carmen, and this is my side host,
Ashley.
And we have our wonderful producer, T-Nugget.
T-Nugget. He's off camera. You can't see him anymore.
He's demoted himself. He'll be back, though. He'll get upgraded again. But on today's episode, it's been a jam-packed season already. But on today's episode, I am so grateful to this guest for coming on. She is a sweetheart, just a genuinely nice person, and I'm excited for people to hear about certain elements of her life and aspects of her journey and her walk with the Lord, and really just she's done some things that I feel like were phenomenal, and I'm excited for her to kind of delve into those things and talk about them, and for everyone to be able to hear that. So I'm gonna let Shelby give a little bit of details about herself.
Well, thank you for that. That was really sweet. I'm Shelby. I'm 24. I just turned 24, so I'm still getting used to saying that. And yeah, I was an art and graphic design major in school. I work at an art gallery now, and I live here in McDonough. So, yeah.
That was a nice introduction. Yes. So on today's episode, our theme or our episode topic or whatnot, we're trying to get some order here, is choosing faith over feelings. So I was gonna jump into it with your story, but it just kind of rose to me. I kind of want Ashley to give some personal, maybe an example of an instance in her life where she chose her faith over her feelings, if she has something that she'd be willing to share. And then we can, I don't even know if something can come to her mind because I threw her on the spot.
Choosing my faith over my feelings. I mean, the only thing that really that I can think of in like recent time, in a year's like time, was leaving my job.
Okay.
Well, you thought I was going to be something
Say
else?
more. And the reason I say that is because I feel like when you say what you say and you kind of delve in just a little bit and kind of scratch the surface, I think it'll be good to lay the groundwork, because I feel like a lot of times we put levels on faith. Like we put levels on like, oh, well, I just did a small thing, or I did this thing or whatever. Like if you put your faith over your feelings and you say the Lord is leading me to do X, Y, and Z, I'm going to forego what I want for what I know he has for me, or what he's leading me to do. And I think that you've done that for sure. I know that. I've seen that. Shelby, I know you've done that. I've seen that. And so if y'all are both able to share a little bit of those experiences, I think it'll be really beneficial to the listeners and the viewers.
Well, actually, I'm not going to talk about my job. I just thought of something. So prior to last year, I had this month of like, not even a month. It was like the Lord just telling me to do stuff. So he told me to get an LLC. He told me to apply for grad school. And he told me to do a whole lot of different things. And so like I was starting out doing those things. So I got the LLC. I didn't know what I was going to name it or whatever. And I still don't know what I'm going to do with the business. So I have an LLC. I have a business.
Yeah.
That's just a name right now. But God told me to do it. So I know it's going to work out somewhere, some way. But with the grad school thing, it was like everything was working out. Like it was a faith thing. So I'm like, oh, okay. I'm going to go to grad school. This is what I've been wanting to do. I didn't really know what I wanted to do at that time. And it opened up the door for me to find out about organizational and leadership. That was the program that I applied for. And I was like, okay, bet. It was at USC. I was like, this is perfect. This is like a really high name school. I'll be able to get, into it. I'll be able to. So all the things started stacking up really well. The lady was talking to me about how much it cost, what the program length was, what was the requirements. And I was like, I can do all these things. Like, I have everything that I need to do. Well, I applied and I would have found out in December. Well, in December, I found out I did not get in. And I was like, Lord, why would you tell me to apply for this and you didn't want me to actually get in? I was like, maybe it's because I need to go through a process of not caring, not, feeling shattered because I didn't get in, anything. But it wasn't even that. So then fast forward to after leaving my job, what I really didn't know at that time was that going into the end of that year was when things at my job would start devolving and where things were just getting crazy and stuff was just falling to pieces. And I'm like trying to catch it. And I'm like, okay, well, God, I guess you want to do it like this. And this is what's going to happen. It's going to work out. And I'm like, oh, they're going to do this. And I found out a solution and it didn't work. So jump to me now saying, God, I don't have a job. You told me to apply for school. I didn't get into school. I guess this is not the season for me to do school. Yeah. So the Lord tells me that he wants me to volunteer at the church, where I grew up at. And so it was a beautiful time because it gave me an opportunity to spend some time with, the senior pastor and all the people in the church and just really love on them and do all these things. But God tells me it's time for you to apply again. Don't give up on what I told you just because it didn't work out the first time. So I'm like, oh, I didn't get in. Why? Where am I going to do it money wise? That was a $40,000 program. Yeah. All this kind of stuff. And so I'm like, okay, bet. I want to just look around. So I looked for the program that I was initially applying for, could not find anything. So I'm just looking and I was like, best. Then I searched up cheapest doctoral program. And the program, it was like a list of programs that came up and Liberty University came up on there. Now, I didn't know anything about Liberty before. Applying for it. I thought it was a fake school, honestly, because I had never heard of it before. So I was like, this is a fake school. It probably doesn't have any accreditation. I don't, all this stuff. And so I started reading up on it. Like they had some of the best programs for like if you did online programming and all that kind of stuff. They were like in the top of online doctoral programs, postgraduate studies. They had like a high rating for even undergrad and all that stuff, their sports and all that kind of stuff. So looking into it, but the major thing was it was affordable. They hadn't changed their prices for so many years. And like, it was crazy. I was like, Lord, I don't want to have to pay more than I really had to pay for my master's degree for this, because I don't want to have to get any loans. I was like, if you're telling me to do this, you're gonna have to pay for it because I don't have the funds or anything like that. So I put in for it. They come back to me and they're like, okay, you can put all your stuff in. Well, they were like, well, because you have this type of thing, if you just put your information in, we'll pull your transcripts for you so you don't have to pay for them. So they went to all the schools and they had some type of electronic thing where they pull. So I didn't have to pay for sending off my transcripts like I normally would have. I didn't have to pay the application fee because I don't know why. And then I went through, and then I think it was like in May or something, I got my acceptance to the school, or I can't remember. But anyway, it was starting, and I was like, still, and the Lord was still making a way, because at that point in time, I had money saved over that was enough to pay for school. And when I say it was affordable, it really wasn't that much more than my undergrad per semester, which was crazy cheap. So it was just like the Lord was opening up the thing, but it was a step of faith to apply, because I was in my feelings at that point in time. I was like, I need to be saving as much as I possibly can. I need to I don't want to get, even though I didn't feel super bad about not getting into, I still don't want to have to get another rejection letter to say you didn't get into this program. And, you know, I didn't want to be in that place of like, this is something that I really want, but it just may not be for me. And I think that's one of the things that in the past, that's something that I have struggled with, is like when I really, really wanted something, it was always like, I have to give it up. It's other people can have this, but for me, I have to be in the sacrifice of it.
And so, are you? I don't want to interrupt.
Good.
So I know, Shelby, you've had instances where maybe not education wise, but you've made the sacrifice. How do you, I mean, you can give backstory if you want to give backstory or not, but how do you get the boldness, both of you, honestly, how do you get the boldness to push your feelings aside or say, okay, I'm going to step out in faith. I'm going to be willing to make the sacrifice, willing to take the hit, willing to take the loss. I know I'm going to feel bad about it. Like, I'm going to feel bad because it's hurtful. Like, it hurts.
Yeah.
How do you get the boldness to do that? And like to say, okay, I'm standing on what I know is right. I know the Lord has told me. I know what he had. Like I maybe don't know what the end looks like. Because like you said, you stepped out on faith. And like I said, Shelby, you can share bits of your story if you like, as you like. How do you do that? Like, how did you do that?
Yeah, so a little bit of backstory. When I was in college, a really good friend of mine and I, we had known each other for like most of college. This was senior year when this situation happened. We started to kind of date a little bit, and he had asked me out, and I was like, no, like... Because in my mind, I already knew, like, I'm a Christian and you're not a Christian, and that's not going to end well. Yeah. And so then we kind of ended up dating anyway, which that was a whole situation on me where I was doing what I didn't need to be doing. But kind of going back to the boldness thing, after we graduated college, even when we were in college, but especially afterwards, I just really felt like God was telling me, this is not what you need to be doing. Like, you're not obeying what I'm saying, and you need to be, and it'll be better in the end if you just obviously do what I'm telling you to do. Just listen to what I'm telling you to do. And so it was really hard. I don't know if you've ever just like known what you needed to do, but you just really, really don't want to do it. So at the time I was working at TJ Maxx. I would go, and what I did there, you didn't really have to concentrate much on what you were doing. So I would just think about it all the time. And I just felt all the time that I was not doing what I needed to do, and that it was going to be worse because I was hurting God because I was disobeying. 2, I was hurting myself because I was disobeying. And 3, I was hurting him because I wasn't doing what I knew I needed to do.
You were growing attached.
Yes. I was growing attached. He was growing attached. It was just not. Yes. So I would think about it all the time. I would go sit in my car on my break and cry, and then I would go back in and finish working, and I was just always thinking about it. And so, but to answer like the boldness question, it really wasn't me. It was just, there's no way, and even looking back on it now, I'm like, that could not have been me, because I wouldn't have just like been like, oh yeah, like we're gonna break up and like that's gonna be it, because I wouldn't have.
Because you liked him that much.
Yes. And we were very close. Like, even before that, all my college memories, there were like 4 of us. And like always
Yeah.
together. So even after we broke up, that was something I had to deal with because I was like, he's in every memory that I have for the last like 4 years of my life. That's kind of hard to like, even though we weren't dating and a lot of that, you know.
He was still a major part of your life.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah. So it was very difficult. And then it also was hard because I knew people were going to be like, this doesn't make any sense because he was so, like, from the, if you're looking at what a good boyfriend would be, he
Yes.
was a really good boyfriend. Like, he was so nice to me. He would, like, I don't know, he would just text me randomly and be like, oh my gosh, I hope you're having a great day. Like, if I was in class, he knew that I loved cheeseburgers from McDonald's. He'd be like, me and so went to McDonald's and I got you a cheeseburger. It's in your room. Because we would all leave our doors unlocked.
Yeah.
And so I would get, like, back from class and I'd just have a cheeseburger or, like, whatever.
Yeah.
And so I knew that other people were going to be like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, why are y'all breaking up? Like, he's such a good boyfriend. Like, y'all are so good together, whatever. And so that also, I was like, people are going to think that I'm nuts. Right. And even a couple of weeks after that, me and a friend of mine were talking, and I was really, like, I was sad, but I knew that I did the right thing. And he was like, do you think you made a mistake? And I was like, no. Mm-hmm. But he wasn't, the person I was talking to wasn't a Christian either. And so I knew that didn't really make sense to him because I was like, I'm sad, but I know that I did the right thing. Mm-hmm. But to someone who doesn't believe, that is kind of like what does that mean? Yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
And so, yeah, so after we broke up, then I was like really sad, obviously, but that time in my life was, I think, the most growth I had in my faith. I felt the presence of God the most I've ever felt in my whole life in that time because, I mean, I think he just knew that I needed to know that he was there and that I had done the right thing. And even, like, there were times when I would be like, did I do the right thing? Like, would it, like, if we had stayed together, maybe I could have gotten him to go to church or, you know, right. Like, and it's, when we broke up, did I, like, make him hate Christian people, you know, and just, like, all the things that are, I feel like, normal to think of in that situation. Mm-hmm. But in the end, I still knew that was what I needed to do. But that was just like God had to work on me in that situation type of thing. Yeah. Because I think I would have let the what ifs of that really eat at me.
Yeah.
If I hadn't just really felt God's presence in my life during that time. And then me and Troy were talking about this the other day because I was really thinking about it. During that time, I knew I had done the right thing, but also I was sad, but I had a peace that I had never really ever felt in my whole life. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And in the Bible, when it talks about like a perfect peace or like a peace that surpasses understanding, mm-hmm. I didn't know what that meant until that time because I had never felt just two overlapping feelings like that. I knew that I had did the right thing. I had total peace about the situation, but I was still sad. Mm-hmm. Yes. And that also, the two together also, I think, helped my faith in God grow because I just felt at peace. Like I knew that there was some plan. I may never know what it is, mm-hmm. Yeah. But I knew God was doing something, and maybe it was for me, maybe it was for him, maybe it was for somebody else. I don't know. Because we did have a lot of the same friends, so I don't know if, I don't know.
Are y'all friends? Are you friends with those people still, or?
There are the group that was really, like, we all hung out all the time. I talked to one of them still, kind of. Mm-hmm. But the other ones, not really. Mm-hmm. But there are other people, because we were in this kind of a side tangent, but Young Heroes had sororities and fraternities, and we were all in the same fraternity. So there were other people in the fraternity outside of just the 5 of us. So we were still friends with other people who knew all of us.
Yeah.
And so I like I said, I may never know who it was for or what's going to come of the situation, but I just know that during that time I had a real peace, even though I was sad. And yeah,
I have if someone were to come up to you now and they were like, hey, I have this person that I really, really care about, and I'm a Christian, and they are a good person. They don't necessarily claim to be a Christian, but they're a good person. Like they are everything but that. What would be the first thing that you would like say to them?
When are they like asking me if they should date
Yeah.
that person? I would say no. And that's actually funny that you said that, because before we, I guess, started like dating or whatever, I asked somebody who had been in a similar situation, and she told me no. And I listened to her, and then we like had a conversation about it, because he was like, I just want to make sure that you don't want to go like date me, because other people in the friend group were like upset about it, because there was a situation before with other people in the friend group and it didn't end well. So some of the people in the friend group were upset, and he was like, I just want to make sure that it's not because of that. And I was like, no, like the reason I said, which was that he was not a Christian and I was the reason. And then after that, we still hung out the same amount, and we would just like go to dinner and stuff, and then basically we were dating again. And I was like, how did this happen? But anyway, I would say no, because I wish that I had taken her advice. Because being on the back side of that, I know, like, kind of going back to what I was saying about not wanting to like repel him from Christianity or things like that, and having those kind of what if situations, I think I would have felt a lot, or thought about that a lot less, if I had just stuck to my guns in the beginning, because there wouldn't be that attachment, or that deep of an attachment. Like I said, we were already friends, but there wouldn't have been like the next level of attachment.
And do you think that even in that short amount of time, did you feel like you had started compromising your beliefs to fit his the way he lived? Or do you think it was just that you were just like, I'm still able to, I can still be that light for him?
Yeah, no, I felt like I had started to compromise on things that I believed in. And I think that's another reason that I knew that I was doing the right thing in the end, or like not that I was doing what I needed to do in the end, because I started to see where I was compromising on things. Yeah. And I was like, this is not good. Yeah. And when I would think about it, there's that story in the Bible, don't be unequally yoked, and it's the ox, and they have the thing on them, the yoke. Yeah, the yoke on them. But the part of that really stuck with me was that, the stronger one, if they turn, the other one, it like will break their neck. Yeah. And I was like, that really sticks with you. Yeah. It's very like, if he was the stronger in like that sense, and I was already starting to compromise, in the end, like that is not going to be a good situation. So that was always kind of also in my mind. But I did definitely start to compromise on things, and I saw that, and that's kind of also what prompted me to end things.
Okay. That was really good. One of the things that you said that really stood out to me was when you were saying that you were like, this is something I know is gonna be hurtful. Yeah. But you and there was no way I could have done it on my own strength. Like, I just don't, like, I don't even know how I wasn't necessarily so bold that I did it, or I I was just like, yeah, I'm stepping out in faith. You know how people always say that. But it's like, no, this is real. Like, it wasn't that. It was that God did the rest. Like, I just had to say, okay, I'm willing to let it go. And he did the rest. So he was the emboldening in you. And then even though you are going to feel what you feel in whatever situation that is, because I think a lot of times people get mixed up or get confused and they're like, once I step out in faith, I'm going to be out in faith and I'm going to be at peace.
Everything's going to be fine.
It's going to be fine.
And you don't ever get shook.
And you don't ever get shaken. You don't ever feel the hurts of this world. And it's like, no. If somebody slaps you, you're still going to feel it. It's still going to hurt. But the Lord will be like, gentle hand on your cheek will kind of cool it. A cooling salve or whatever.
Yeah.
And whatever you need in that moment. And so when you said you were simultaneously feeling sadness but peace. And I was like, I was so glad that you said that, because I feel like, again, a lot of times the way that faith is presented or the way that really living your life as a believer is presented is that, or trying to convince somebody to become a believer or to do the things of the Lord is that, okay, it's the easy route.
Yeah.
Like, it's the one that's going to keep you at most peace. And people assume that peace means not feeling the other emotions.
Yeah.
So sadness, hurt, pain, whatever that looks like. And so when you said that, I was like, that stood out to me a lot, to have come to that realization and be like, no, it was the Lord that gave me the boldness. It wasn't me. And then through him empowering me, he filled me up in a way that comforted me, so much so that I knew that regardless of what those around me were going to say, I was making the right decision.
Yeah.
So how, because I know a lot of times what people are saying around you, once you can be one of the biggest stumbling blocks. So once you had ended things, and everyone's like, girl, what are you thinking? Like, he's a gem. You know what I mean? Like, everybody is telling you that. And they're essentially against what the Lord is telling you to do. They're on the opposite side. What was it at that point where you just like, okay, the Lord is comforting me, I'm at peace? Or were you almost conflicted? Or was it really, were you able to just kind of stick with it and just hold firm and say, or did it kind of make you feel a little shaken, like Ashley said?
Yeah, I feel like at that point, it was easier for me to stick with it.
Yeah.
But it was just hard to articulate to somebody else exactly how, because, it's hard to be like, I just know, and somebody to understand what you're saying if they've never just known something like that.
Yeah.
And so when I was trying to articulate it to that friend in particular, and he was like, do you think you made a mistake? And I was like, no, but I didn't know how to be like, but I'm sad. But I know that that was what needed to happen and that it will be better in the end. But the people I feel like who I was more surrounded with at the time were more understanding.
Okay, that was good.
That person, it was still a really good friend of mine, but we, obviously he's not a believer. And then we hadn't just like been hanging out a lot since I had graduated from school.
Okay.
And I think that was another thing that was so much the Lord working, because we graduated and then I guess we kind of broke up like a month-ish after that. Okay. But I wasn't surrounded by the friend group anymore, so I didn't just have all these opinions coming at me. I just didn't have the people who were surrounding me at that time were more believers. That one instance was like the first time we had hung out since the whole situation had happened. And so I think that was also kind of a God thing, because it really helped me be confident in that I was doing the right thing.
Yeah. And so you had this relationship, after graduation, a month after graduation, you made this major change. Like, this guy sounds like he was amazing, but he was not a Christian. So now you're moving into adulthood. Like, you're trying to find adult job and all this kind of stuff, and you're moving into, what steps were you making then? Like, what was your mind working? Because I mean, you're saying you're sad and everything like that. How are you moving forward in the other parts of your life? Because that grief is real. So how is that affecting you? Like, were your parents aware of the situation? Were they, helping you through it? And how was that?
Yeah, so my parents were they knew basically the whole situation. And honestly, that time also, I became really close with my parents because we were always pretty close because I'm an only child, so but specifically during that time, they were really there for me. And then I just wasn't like, oh, I want to go out and be doing all this stuff. Like, I'm mentally tired, so I just want to be at home in my pajamas and do nothing. And we would just hang out. We would watch movies. Every now and then we would, go out to eat and stuff. But I think that really strengthened our relationship, too. And that, I feel like that sounds so weird. A lot of good came out of that one sad situation. Oh, and you said something else, but I can't remember.
Like job.
Oh, job. That's another thing that came out of that situation, because I think it was before we broke up, but I can't remember how much longer before. I was working at TJ Maxx, and it was only part-time. I knew that I wanted something full-time. So randomly one day, I went to where I work now, and I think one day I went and they were closed. So the next day I went back, and I walked inside, and my big boss now, came out, and he was like, hey, can I help you? And I was like, yeah, I'm looking for Julie, because on the website, it had her photo, and I knew she was the gallery director. And he was like, yeah, let me take you to her office. And so I went in there, and I met her, and I was like, hey, yeah, I'm not sure if y'all are hiring or anything, but I'm looking for a graphic design related or art related job, because that was my major in college. Do you have anything available? And she was like, no, we don't, but let me get your name and phone number, and I'll give you a call if anything comes available. Well, a couple weeks later, then after we had broken up, I got a call one day, and she was like, hey, I know this is not at all what you wanted to do, but the person who normally steams linens for us, because it's also an event venue, the person who normally steams linens for us is out of town this week. Would you want to come in and make some extra money? And I was like, sure, I'll come in, after I get off of work. Yeah. I had the whole afternoon because it was only part-time. So I started going in for a week or two. I went and steamed linens for her. And then one day we were talking, and she was like, yeah, my assistant just basically said she was going to New York to visit her grandfather who was in the hospital, and then she never came back. She stole all this stuff from us, and and her boyfriend also kind of helped work for them, so they really lost 2 employees that just ghosted them. And so she was like, I'm looking for an assistant, would you be interested? And I was like, yeah, sure, just let me know. Yeah. And she was like, okay, great. And then we did an interview, and that's how I got my job. So it was so off the wall, random. But yeah, and then I started working there, I think probably 2 weeks after that. And I have really enjoyed working there. I love the people that I work with. So yeah, that was also its own God thing. It was just a lot all the time.
All of it happening at the same time.
Yes, yeah.
And so you're working at this place. It's amazing. You like it. You like the people that you work with. But you were going for art and graphic design. Yes. So is that what you're not doing that right now?
It's an art gallery and an event venue, but I don't do a whole lot for specifically the art gallery. I do more for the venue. It's so complicated. It's also commercial property solutions, real estate, all sorts of stuff. So I kind of do a little bit of everything, but what I wanted to do was the art graphic design side. And I don't do a whole lot with that. I do more with the event stuff.
So do you still want to do that? Is that what you're
ask the same thing?
I do. I have been applying to places. But I haven't heard back. I'm trying to like redo my resume and my website and get all my stuff together. But honestly, I think that if I started, I feel like because I haven't exercised those skills in, 2-ish years, like I've done little side projects here and there, but not like regularly, that I would want to maybe do an internship or something to just kind of refresh those skills first, and then maybe do something full-time like that. I don't know if I've even told anyone this, but I've kind of also been thinking about starting my own business because I really, specifically what I want to do is I want to rebrand companies. And that, a lot of companies hire like graphic designers and they do like smaller projects, but I want to start to finish like rebrand. That is what I like to do because it's so many different things that I feel like I get bored so easily. I'm like, I need something to keep me like, oh, this is like a new thing to be working on, even if it's like kind of the same project. And I took a branding class when I was in college, and that's what we did. It was a semester-long project, and we rebranded a company like start to finish. So new logo, like new business cards, website, social media. If they had like merchandise, like sweatshirts or coasters.
Yeah.
All that stuff. And I loved it. Yeah. It was so much fun. And so long term, that's what I would really like to be doing. Now, I don't know if that is going to be, maybe if I find a job doing that specific thing at a company or starting my own. That way I could kind of incorporate that. But I primarily want to do small businesses who can't like afford for a big company to come in and like rebrand.
So what would stop you now from just starting the business?
I'm just a little nervous. I'm a little nervy about that. Partially because I don't know if that looks like starting it while I'm at my current job, but just like
doing it on the side.
Yes, doing it on the side, or if that looks like fully committing to it, or maybe I don't know if I could do this, but like maybe taking a step back and doing like part-time while I worked on that. I'm not really sure kind of what that looks like. And I think that's part of what is making me not hesitant, but I'm just not sure where to start with that, if that makes sense.
We can talk after.
Yeah, I'm just thinking the same thing.
Let me know, girl.
We'll consult after. Right, we'll have something for sure. Let me see what my next thing was. Actually, you've hit all the points I had on my list. What? You've been speeding through this episode. So phasing through adulthood, you've already done that.
But no, really not. Like just even talking about jobs and everything. You're looking towards the future. Like what does that look like for you? Like you want to have a job that's get graphic design and everything. You had the boyfriend. He had one thing missing. So
but the only thing that mattered, right?
The most important thing.
When I say that, and that's what I wanted to highlight. So now, you know what you kind of want. You want him as a Christian.
Yeah.
Not him, but like the characteristics.
Person. Yes. Yeah.
As that, and now that you are you at a place now where you're actively ready for that, or do you feel like there are things that you want to still continue to work on personally?
There are things that I think I still want to work on, but I don't think for me, there some people like really want to like work on themselves by themselves. I'm not just like I necessarily want to work on myself by myself, but I'm not just like I don't know how to say what I'm trying to say. Like I'm not going like out and looking for somebody, but I feel like I'll just know when I know, if that makes sense. Like when So
you don't want to go out and jump into something and be like, I'm going to work through me in this. Is
like if we're talking about a relationship sense, I am not just going to date anyone to date anyone. I think if I meet the right person and I like am prayerfully confident that they're my person, then I'm not going to be like, no, we can't date right now because I have X, Y, Z, whatever to do by myself.
Okay. I get what you're saying. So you're saying that you're not actively just looking, but if it were to organically happen, you're not opposed to that.
Correct.
And you wouldn't turn it away.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that. Carmen.
Yes.
At this point in juncture in your life, you know, I was like, because you
guys are tuning in.
No, but seriously, like you've been going through some transitions and phases,
girl,
and you have been, you know,
I've been changing.
Yeah, you.
Oh, girl, tell us about that.
Growing.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, what specifically? I mean, there's been a lot, but what
like what would you like to share with? Like with some of the, because like I know like emotional things like marriage.
I like to share? I'd be like nothing in the episode.
No, but seriously, like not.
No, I think that because I know exactly what you're trying to get at without saying it. Her like life's goal for me is for me to be espoused. And honestly, what my whole approach has been, really in my younger years, I was like, it's a hard no. It's never. I was like, Carmen is single. And then as I got older, I was like, you know what, whatever the Lord has for me, if that's something he has in his will for me, then by all means, you know, bring it on. Because I'm like, you know what, to God be the glory. Why should I not have the best life God wants me to have?
Yes.
And so I feel like as it presently stands, I still feel like that. I think that, and I've continually said this, I think on a lot of the episodes or maybe in private conversations, I don't know, I talk a lot. So I know for a fact that I've said that I really feel like the purpose of being here is to bear fruit.
Yes.
And so the best way to do that, and again, like I always say, marriage to me is like I was always like, what's the point? What's the purpose? Is it just so you can have a companion? Like, obviously, God doesn't want you to be alone, but like you can find companionship anywhere. It's like, okay, I want somebody to be this strengthening backbone for me so I can just accomplish and kill it out here in the world. What is my intention? And if it is really, okay, I'm going to be in this relationship, in this marriage, in something that is really a model of God's love for the church. Like, I'm going to essentially join in union with someone else so that I can be a reflection of Christ, really. And then through that, be able to grow the kingdom of God on earth. If that's my intention, then I feel like, cool. Like, I feel like that. I'm like, yeah, I'm down for it. Because at this point, I'm like, the purpose. I'm like, what's the intention? What's the reasoning behind it? So now I can honestly say I can understand that as a goal. Like, I don't feel like a lot of people necessarily say that's why they want to get married. But if that's your reason for wanting to get married, I see that being a positive one. I think for me personally, I'm not opposed.
Yeah.
Am I saying yes? I'm not opposed. God, do you? You know, where you see fit. Hey, if you want your girl to have a man, let her have him. You know, or if that's, you know what, you need to serve your life. For me, live your life. For me, and it's gonna be us. You know, like Paul, single. I would that you stay single. Hey, he would have rather everybody stay solo. So, I think that it's just, I don't necessarily know if I've deviated from that previous thought process. Yeah. I just think that the why behind my thought process has shifted.
Do you think that will be a moment of faith over your personal feelings?
For what?
For you to be in a relationship with somebody that would lead towards marriage.
Do I think I'll be faith over my personal feelings?
Yes, like
no.
Okay.
I don't feel like that would be like some hardship for me to, like, sometimes I'm sacrificing my feelings and I've got to be in this relationship with you. I feel like that's kind of be a little bit unfair to the person you're with. Like, the Lord made me get with you. You know, like, oh, it's in his perfect will. Like, it almost would be like unfair to your partner to have that mindset.
Yeah.
Not to say it's not faith.
Yeah.
To be in it, to be in a commitment like that. But that feels like a bit of a stretch in that regard. But like in general, like personal growth, I think that there's a degree of vulnerability that I feel like I'm maybe more willing to have.
Yes.
That I previously was not. And so it's like you can have a good conversation with somebody and talk about some deep stuff. but not fully go deeper. And I feel like as it presently stands, I'm just on a journey of going deeper. And so it's like the surface is okay, but the deeper is what matters, because at the root of everything is the heart of it. And so like, I'm like,
expound on that a little bit more.
Like just for yourself. Like a lot of times, like I'll talk about myself. So like for me, like as I'm growing, as I'm getting older, whatever that looks like, I feel like I realize how much about my own heart I don't know. And so I'm like, what makes me tick? Like what is the root of my actions? What is the root of my decisions? Why do I want this? Why do I see myself this way? How am I viewing God in proportion to myself? What are the limitations that I set on my life? And why do I set those limits? And so in working with that, it really is, I mean, the heart drives everything.
Yes.
So if I understand my heart and I say, you know what, if I understand God's heart, I can understand my heart. And then I'm like, Lord, you got to work this out in me. Like you have to, whatever my issues are, whatever my shortcomings are, whatever is preventing me from really leading the best life that I can, whatever that looks like in God's will, I think I've been working to get to that point. So just getting, again, to the heart, the root of
who you are,
who I am. And so.
And what are you finding about yourself?
What am I finding about myself? I'm finding a lot of things. Like I think,
like not surface, like real. Because I can tell you in these moments for me, just for me, that I find that I am very, like, I always thought I was like a super stable person.
Yeah.
And I have been very shook this year in a lot of ways. And there have been moments of feeling just like super overwhelmed and super like I told you today, I just felt like I just wanted to quit everything. I just feel tired. Like I just I don't have the mental capacity to be able to do anything right now. And I just want to be like, you know what? It is what it is. It'll happen when it happens. If it doesn't, you know, but I also know that I have to push past that. So like, it's like, what are the things that I need to do to make myself feel better? That's what I said. I need to get to a place where I can put myself back together pretty much. And so it's like, that's where I am, that I know this is something that I've never had to deal with before. And it's like, okay, where is this coming from? Where does it delving from? And how do I get to the next page? And I think also maybe it has been in the past. I've just always was able to push through. I think my ability to push through has been harder. Like, I've always been that person. I'm like, I'm just going to make it through. Even when I feel tired, I feel whatever, I'm going to push through. And I feel like that my ability to push through is. And that's, like, at the heart of it, I feel like that shakiness has this.
Then I feel like, for me, there's a lot of things that I've found. But in that same vein, I probably say that I'm more sensitive than I would have let on. Like, I feel like I've always been a sensitive person. I was just good at hiding it. I'd be like, oh, girl, that doesn't matter. You know, like I was a lot better at probably concealing that. But now I feel like, I'm like, man, I feel it. Like, I'm like, man, I really feel it. And I'm like, oh my gosh. But at the same time, I don't think that's a bad thing. And I think that's the difference. I'll be like, oh man, like, oh, suck it up, you know, be a champ. Like, don't let your emotions rule you. And I don't think you should allow your emotions to rule you. But I think that being sensitive isn't necessarily a bad thing when used appropriately. Because I can be in touch with my emotions. I can be sensitive because I can acknowledge where I am and not fester in it. It doesn't have to end up being something that I pile onto or something that becomes a root of something that's unhealthy. And so going ahead, acknowledging the emotions, whatever those things may be, and really processing how I'm feeling about things isn't a bad thing. And in doing that, the degree of compassion that I can show other people is different. So it's like, okay, I feel like I cared about people, but I cared about people in a different way. And now I'm like, I care, like, I really genuinely am like, man, I care about you to have a good life, but like to have like a hope in a future. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, I want you to have more than just your life be decent. Like, I want your soul to be right. Like, I want you to, you know, the root of who you are to be saved. And I feel like that's different. So, hey.
Shelb, so what are some of like the things that you've been feeling, and I don't want to say feeling, but like where do you feel like you are having growth or you're feeling the change?
So for me recently, I'm so about to expose myself, but just in like trying not to be so frustrated about little things, I have really been being worked on with that, and let me tell you, it has not been fun because you know how you're like, oh my gosh, why can't I get past this? And then you realize, you really realize that you're like, oh, this is for me. So I will not do these things.
Yes.
And then it just makes everything so different. Because when you have that realization that like, oh, these things aren't just happening to me to be like happening to me. They're happening so I can really realize what I need to work on in myself. Because I was like, why am I getting all frustrated about all these little things? And they were like piling on each other. And I was like, what is this about? But then it was revealed to me that that's because that's something that I need to work on within myself. And, and I mean, just letting things kind of fester, I am really bad about that. It's a work, you know?
Yep, the pile on. Like,
yes,
just,
it's
like,
the pile on.
It just gets...
And then the next thing you know, you're like mad and you don't even really know what you're mad about because it's like 3 months of stuff.
And then you're like, well, that's the root of it, was just that one thing.
That little thing that happened like way back.
That you just don't acknowledge in the moment.
Yeah, I really haven't been getting mad. My coworkers were talking about being mad recently. I haven't really been mad at nothing. I think I've gotten frustrated at some stuff, but I haven't really been mad. If I have been, I used to be really mad about things and get angry about stuff.
But I think you went through, a lot of your anger was rooted in other things. And so once you kind of hash those out, I think you even talked about on a few episodes back, some of those meetings. And even on Sydney's episode, we had spoken about, like your...
Conversation with Daddy.
Yes. Like your parental... like your relationship with your parents a lot of times impacts obviously impacts your whole life, but like that was something that was kind of, I think, was driving a lot of the things that you would be angry about. And it wasn't because it was like what Shelby said, it wasn't the one thing you thought it was. It would be like something totally separate. Different.
But think about this. Now, like, just go with me. That was at the end of last year, right? Where I had my conversation with Daddy, right? I had it right before I got into...
that was in December.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because you got... Yeah.
So, like, that was, like, I had gone through a lot of transition during that time. And now and I just have been tired from this year because of that trash job no, let me not say that because I don't ever want to talk bad about it. That was a blessing.
Yes.
That was given to me, but it was a hard job. I don't want to say trash job. It was a hard job. And I really commend anybody who is in the hospitality business because it is not an easy job. But it was hard. And I have been tired. I feel like I haven't caught my breath since being at that job. Yeah. It just seems like it's just been piling on since then. That also, I didn't have the, I guess I might not have had the fortitude to build onto that because I didn't have the anger that I usually Hold on.
Anger used to be the foundation of all of your strength. That's horrible.
No, but not really. Like, but think about it. It's broken. So now I really need to start talking to the Lord about it, so that He can be my strength.
Yeah.
In it, because it, like, really seriously, I was going, like, I could go, and I just haven't been with it. Like, my ability to just want to just keep moving and just be like, I can push through it. I'm like, I can't push through it today.
I think it's also because about, like, I think you a lot of times, maybe I could be wrong, but it seemed like you may have had, like, misplaced passion. Like, whatever you committed to is what you gave passion to. It didn't matter if you wanted to do it or not. And now you're like, I don't want to do this. I refuse to give the energy that I would have once given it just because I committed. Like, the commitment of the thing. And maybe it's because your expectation was, if you make a commitment, you stick with your commitment. Yeah. And then when you realize, like, maybe that foundation or that relationship or that love is not contingent on my follow through of this commitment. Yeah. Then you realize you don't have to put your entire self into everything that doesn't deserve your entire self.
Yeah, I guess that's a lot. Yeah. Because I was just thinking, like, school is hard. Yeah, it is hard. And I am pushing through because I made a commitment.
No, but you also want the end result.
And I paid that money.
And you want the end result.
Right now is I paid that money. It's not even the end result. I keep trying to make myself think about that hat. But that hat is not it can't be sustaining me through this. Is I paid that money.
But I do have a question. When you were saying that, do you feel like, I mean, I know that I do this, so I just want to ask, do you feel like you overcommit?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I was thinking about that today.
Okay.
I have completely overcommitted myself to so much stuff. Like, I was telling Carmen the other day, I want to quit everything. Just quit everything, and then just, like, build back up and find out what it is that I actually want to be doing or need to be doing. Yeah. Because I am that person.
That was something that I kind of had to struggle with too, because and sometimes I still do, but especially in the past, I would way overcommit myself to the point of, like, pure exhaustion. And, like, I think that's also part of kind of where the anger issue underlying is for me, because I would so overcommit myself that if, like, one little thing went wrong, I'd be like, this messes up all of my stuff. Yes. Yeah. But Troy's going to laugh at me about what I'm about to say, and I think he knows. But I read this book because I was really struggling with this for a long time. I read this book called The Best Yes. If you haven't read it, you should read it. But part of the main overall theme of the book is that sometimes the best yes is no, because you not only, it may be not good for you, but sometimes if you say yes to something and somebody else, because you are, like, obligated, or you just feel like, oh my gosh, there's no way, like, I can't just, like, let this person down, then the person who that was maybe meant for won't get it because you were like, oh, let me grab this because, like, they asked me first. But if the other person, like, if I asked Carmen and she said no, then I asked you, but it was meant for you, and it was for you, and it was for me. If Carmen had said yes, she would be taking that away from you. But you don't really think about, like, all the end kind of that. And I had never really thought about it like that. I was just always like, oh, if I say no, this person is going to be mad at me. And so I would just say yes because I didn't want people to be mad at me. But in the end, I was overcommitting myself, so I wasn't giving everything that I could to that situation, which was hurting them, and it was hurting me, and it was taking something away from somebody else. Yeah. And that was just, like, one of the several scenarios that the book talks about, but that really stuck with me in the sense that I was like, I don't have to say yes to everything, because I also need to rest sometimes. And that's,
Yeah.
it's not a bad thing to need to just be by myself every now and then.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you overcommit or have overcommitted in the past because you also didn't want to like let people down or for them to be upset with you?
No, I think I just was like, I can do it all. So, and usually it wasn't like I was thinking I was overcommitting.
Yeah.
It was, sometimes I would forget that I had planned something for that specific day. So I would overbook. And then in other instances, it's like, oh, I have this day free. Why? There's no reason why I can't. I think that's,
I can fill it with something.
yes.
Yeah.
I think that was a major thing. It's like, there's no reason. I couldn't give myself, I didn't have a reason other than no.
Yeah.
I don't want to.
Yeah.
But because I didn't necessarily not want to. And it was only once you get to that period in time when you have, after the fact.
Yeah.
It's like, why did I tell these people I was going to be here? Because I, at this moment in time, don't not want to go. I don't want to go. I don't want to do. I don't want to. And so it's those type of things. And I think that you sometimes feel honored by certain things. Like when I was Toastmaster president of our chapter at work, that was great. Like when they were like, I really think you'll be a great president. I don't know if I was a great president. I feel like I laid the groundwork for the next president that came to be able to do it. And we did meet all of our objectives and get our, certificates and stuff. And we were distinguished. Like I had goals. And so we were going to make those goals. But at the end, I was done. Like they were like, we want you. I was like, no, I am done. Don't put me back on the ballot. I didn't want to do it. I used to have to force myself to do it. And after I was the president, I actually kind of stopped going because it was just at that point I was done with it. Yeah. And I think that's the thing is I get myself to the place where I overdo it to where I don't want to do it anymore.
It's like you're burnt out kind of. Yeah.
I burn myself out.
I was just wondering because like you both are saying that about overcommitting and that's just something I don't
struggle with it all.
I don't know anything about that. I may be undercommit. I was like, oh, maybe.
But you don't really go nowhere anyway.
Exactly. So. It's a lifesaver.
But
my best yes is no.
But I think that's where the thing is now is where I'm trying to get to the place where I am not saying yes to everything.
Yeah. And being intentional with your yes.
Intentional. And even telling people on sometimes when I have committed to something, I'm so sorry, I can't show up. Because that's
hard.
Yeah. That's the hard thing because you do feel like I told you, I gave you my word. I feel like I'm letting you down. And that is for me. It's not that people will be mad at me. It's that if I've committed to something, I don't want to ever let anybody down. And so, and I think about even like, it's like, my mom has always said, you'll do something. First, charity starts at home. She always would say that charity starts at home. And I would be like, she was like, you are so willing to go out and do things at other places. You need to start that at the house, or you need to take care of your house first. But for me, it's like, that's true. But if I told you and I gave you my word, because when I was little, my parents always like, your word is who you are. Like if you don't keep your word, then people can't trust you. They can't rely on you. You are a liar essentially, or you are because you didn't do what you said you're going to do. And so I was like, I've always tried to be a woman of my word. So if I said something, I try to do it, even when it's sometimes to the detriment of myself. Like I have literally been exhausted. Yeah. Like exhausted. And I'm still keeping it going. And that's kind of how I feel right now. Yeah. Like just exhausted. And like not tired. Like I want to go to sleep. I feel internally exhausted. And I'm like, but I have to push through to get to the next, to finish out what I've said I was going to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just keep me lifted. I got till December.
Yes. But you'll get some rest between then.
So just pray for me. I got a lot to do, but the Lord has me. He's working on me. And, you know, if you find me weeping in a corner,
oh my gosh,
it's a breakthrough. It's not a breakdown. It's a breakthrough, not a breakdown.
Oh my goodness, that's good. Okay, so were there any other questions or anything you wanted to discuss before we close out today's episode?
I don't think so.
Hey, thank you again, Shelby, for coming on.
Of course,
I really had a
thank
good time.
I
had a
did
good
too.
couple
Thank
laughs. So thanks everyone for watching, and we will see you in the next one.
See y'all.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for watching our latest video. Don't forget to like and subscribe.